Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squad for boxing news and views from around the internet. Drama in the Efe Ajagba and Iago Kiladze fight out of California. This was a fun fight, both fighters hitting the deck. Ajagba getting careless and sloppy in the third round. He thought he had it won, didn't finish Kiladze off. The referee doesn't intervene, and moments later Ajagba is on the deck looking up from the seat of his pants after taking a beautiful right counter from Kiladze, who was wobbling and doing dances in there after several heavy shots, but he managed to keep throwing and find the target. Very dramatic, fun-filled fight. Really enjoyed this one, so we'll cover the action briefly, and then I want to get to a couple of points about Ajagba because this was a very good learning fight. A lot of people didn't believe me when I said, one, this was going to go some rounds because Kiladze would just keep coming. If he got hurt, he would keep swinging. Exactly what happened. He doesn't just fold, and he could have folded early on when he took a number of blows in that first round. It looked like it could be all over in the first round, but Kiladze finds a way to get out of the rounds and keep going. Ultimately, he shipped a lot of punishment in this one, but he gave Ajagba a lot of things to think about moving forward, but also a few valuable lessons. So in terms of round one, it was almost from the get-go, Ajagba popping the jab, and Kiladze, he was moving, but he was moving and sort of circling towards Ajagba's dangerous right hand. Ultimately, Ajagba does find the target. He doesn't throw a lot of right hands in the round, but about midway through the round, he lands a very heavy right hand. He looked for all money when he was on unsteady legs that he wouldn't see out the round, but he made it to the bell. And in fact, he landed a nice right hand pretty much on the bell a few seconds before, and that gave Ajagba something to think about. The next round, round two, Kiladze comes out quite strong. He's landing a few shots early, looking to trade. He catches Ajagba with a few decent shots. Nothing, though, seemed to rattle Ajagba. Ajagba, though, starts coming into his own, lands a few shots, and then he lands a big 1-2. The right hand puts Kiladze down. He's sprawling across the ropes as he goes down, and Ajagba continues to stalk him after he beats the count, and you thought that this could be all over, but he couldn't finish him. And the third round, this is where the real drama of the fight ensued, because the commission ahead of the round, they were looking at Kiladze going, oh, I don't know if this guy is, they wanted to examine him between rounds, and he didn't look like he was on steady legs, and Ajagba just kept coming forward, really pummeling him with all manner of shots. He eats a big right hand and he's coming out swinging as the pattern of the fight dictated. He'd keep coming back with shots, but then he is hurt again. He is wobbled and he goes dancing across the ring. The referee, Thomas Taylor, he didn't intervene, and this was a pivotal moment in the fight because Kiladze doing his dance back across the ring, Ajagba just doesn't do anything. In fact, he starts going to his own corner. He thinks it's going to be called off, and I think a lot of fans and even the commentary were saying this should have been called off, but the referee allows Kiladze to continue, and within seconds, Ajagba is down. Ajagba goes in. His hands aren't necessarily where they should be, not up by the chin. He's not defending himself properly, and through an exchange, Kiladze lands a big right hand, and Ajagba, he went down hard, and it was a heavy knockdown. He was hurt by this. Don't let anyone tell you that he wasn't, because he looked very groggy on his feet. He actually only really just beat the count. It was one of those sort of situations where it could have been a massive upset. It was heading towards that, but he hauls himself off the canvas and he shakes it off, and then he just keeps coming. He keeps coming. And that continued all the way through round 4 as well, where he just continues to land big shots, pummeling Iago Kiladze. And that round, he was taking a lot of punishment. 5th round, another knockdown. A right hand wrecks Kiladze, beats the count. But then as the fight continues, clearly he's, as pretty much for 3 or 4 rounds in a row, was on unsteady legs. He really did look like he was a bit drunk in there, but still letting his hands go. Ultimately, the corner decides they'd seen enough. They didn't want to see him take any more punishment, and it's waved off after the towel comes in. The corner informs the commission, who's waving it to the referee. All over in 5 rounds. It really felt that there was a lot of action here, a lot of drama. But it was a good learning fight for Efe Ajagba for a number of reasons. There were a number of people who were saying, oh, this is only going to go 1 or 2 rounds. And I said, no, this is probably going to go 5 or 6 rounds. This is going to go a little bit of distance because Kiladze will just keep coming. And when he gets hurt, he'll keep swinging. Exactly what happened in other fights that he's been in with the likes of Joe Joyce and Adam Kovnatski. But ultimately, it doesn't pay off for him because he ends up taking too much and getting knocked out. So he was punished in this fight and probably took some bigger shots in this fight that he took in some of the others that I mentioned. But this was a case where Efe Ajagba, not as clinical as he could have been. That third round where he had Kiladze hurt, he was all over the place doing a dance and the referee just stood back and Ajagba didn't do anything. He needed to be on him, pouncing, finishing the job. You can make an argument that the referee should have stopped it, but he needs to fight to the referee's decision, the call, whatever happens with the referee. So that was a mistake on his part. But also, even when Kiladze was very hurt in that third round, Ajagba didn't pick his punches as well as he could have. He wasn't as composed. He really was focused on the knockout, and his defense suffered as a result. There was several instances throughout the round and even other rounds where his hands were noticeably low and he was open to taking a shot. And Kiladze did find the target a number of times in this fight. But Ajagba, he did show a good chin, obviously getting up from that very heavy knockdown. He did recover. He ultimately wrecked Kiladze and put a beating on him. But it wasn't as easy as it should have been. And Efe Ajagba could have made it much easier for himself if he had just been a little bit tighter, not been as reckless trying to go for that finish. And that will be a lesson because he won't go into another fight. And 1, he won't let someone off the hook again. But 2, if the other guy is hurt and he's going in for the finish, he's going to keep those hands up, but he's going to make sure he doesn't allow the other guy to come through with the sort of shot that Kiladze hit him with. He was open to being hit. Kiladze found the target, wild swinging, but ultimately, it was effective. He almost got a stunning upset against Efe Ajagba, but I'm sure they're not going to be terribly happy with everything that happened, but they should take this as a learning opportunity because Ajagba won't let those couple of things that he did or didn't do happen again in future fights. He will be much more clinical. He will go for the kill if it's there. He won't wait for the referee to just jump in because ultimately it didn't come in this fight. He paid the price, got sat on his backside. But there was a lot to like about the performance, but you can see he needs more development, more seasoning. So if the next 12 or 18 months, he certainly does need to keep rising through the levels at an appropriate level. And there were a lot of people who were poo-pooing this matchup. But I said at this point, it was an appropriate matchup. And this guy had fought the likes of Adam Kovnatski, Michael Hunter. They were more advanced at their stages of their career when they fought Kiladze. This proved to be an ideal test. A tough one in the end because he just scraped through after that because of that knockdown. But it was the right sort of fight at the right time. So I'm expecting a slight step up from this opponent next time out, something there or thereabouts. But he needs to continue the development and he needs to move on from this. Take the lessons and on to the next one. What did you make of it all? Drop a comment, loud and often. Hit like, hit subscribe, follow me on Twitter, boxing_squared. I'm out.